Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Stephanie and I appreciate y'all stopping by. As you know, Halloween is just around the corner, and with that in mind, I've been scouring TikTok for the most creative and cute Halloween decor ideas that you can easily make at home. So today I will show how to make these 6 Halloween DIYs that is sure to help get your home ready for this year's spooky season. Let's go ahead and grab our crafting supplies and get started. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more DIY inspiration. Let's go ahead and jump into DIY number 1, inspired by Carly Elizabeth. For this project, I used one of these 18 by 30 inch doormats from Walmart and a scrap piece of foam board. I sketched out a simple ghost shape onto the piece of foam board and used a sharp X-Acto knife to cut it out to create a stencil. Next, I used Waverly chalk paint and the color plaster to paint the ghost. I placed the stencil down onto the mat and painted the inside with the plaster colored paint. I continued to stencil the ghost randomly onto the doormat until I was happy with the way it looked and the entire mat was covered with the little ghost. Once the first coat of paint was completely dry, I went back and gave all the ghosts a second coat so that they were a little more opaque. I then used Waverly chalk paint in the color ink to paint the eyes and mouths of the ghost. For the eyes, I used the end of this paintbrush and dipped it down in the paint and stamped on the eyes. For the mouth, I used the end of this larger paintbrush and dipped it into the paint and stamped on the mouth. I then repeated these steps until I had eyes and a mouth on each one of the ghosts. To finish up this project, I took the doormat outside and gave it 2 even coats of this Gorilla waterproof patch and sealer to protect it and allowed it to dry for 24 hours. I could not be happier with the way this little ghost doormat turned out. I think it's the perfect combination of spooky and cute. Moving right along to DIY number 2, inspired by painted black decor. For this project, I used one of the tongs from this set of skeleton tongs from Dollar Tree. I began by using a heat tool to heat up the pinky finger on the hand just enough so that I could easily bend it forward and shape it. I then continued to repeat this process to bend and shape the ring finger, middle finger, and thumb, leaving the pointer finger standing straight. Please be extra careful if you recreate this DIY, since these heat tools do get hot very quickly and so does the plastic. Once I was happy with the way the hand looked, I took a Dremel tool with a cutting blade and carefully cut the hand off at the wrist. Next, I used one of these cloches from Dollar Tree. I used a generous amount of hot glue to attach the hand to the center of the bottom of the cloche. Then I took some reindeer moss from Dollar Tree and used hot glue to adhere it to the bottom of the cloche around the hand. I did go back and trim up any of the moss that was hanging over the edges so that it was nice and neat once the top was put on. To finish up this project, I took this small purple butterfly that I had in my stash and used hot glue to attach it to the top section of the pointer finger. Then replace the top and this one is finished. This has got to be one of my all-time favorite Halloween decor DIYs that I have ever made. I am a complete sucker for anything skeletal, so this may be added to my year-round decor in my makeup room. Okay, on to DIY number 3, inspired by Refabbed. For this project, I used one of these 8x8 craft wood pallets from Dollar General. I began by removing the picture hanger and the kickstand from the back of the pallet. Next, I used Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster to paint the first and third slat, as well as the pieces on the back of the pallet holding the slats together. I then used Waverly chalk paint in the color pumpkin to paint the second slat. And finally, I used Waverly chalk paint in the color moss to paint the last slat. I used Krylon antiquing wax in the color dark vintage and dry brushed just the third slat to give it an aged and distressed look. Next, I sketched out the faces of the 4 monsters onto the palette. I decided to go with a ghost, a jack-o'-lantern, a mummy, and Frankenstein. I used Waverly chalk paints in the colors Ink, Maze, and Snow White, along with apple barrel paint in the color Spring Green to paint all of the details on each of the palette slats, and this one is finished. Y'all, this one turned out so cute. I'm not one for cute Halloween decor, but this little piece has a piece of my heart. I want to take a second and talk about today's video. It's part of the Recreation Inspiration Halloween Challenge hosted by Amanda from 6 Kids and a Glue Gun and Charlene from Crafty Art Shack, along with this month's special guest host Katie from Lady Red Crafting. I'll leave a link to all their channels in the description box below, as well as leave a link to the playlist so you can get even more fall and Halloween decor inspiration once you're finished with my video. I will also leave a list in the description box below with the 6 TikTok accounts that I got inspired by for this video, so please go over and check them out to see how their DIYs turned out. Now that I've said that, let's jump into DIY number 4, inspired by the Navage Patch. For this project, I used one of these cotton mop heads and one of these glass vases, both from Dollar Tree. I began by flipping the mop head upside down so that I could see the plastic centerpiece that's holding it together, and applied a generous amount of hot glue to the plastic and placed it down on the bottom of the vase, then held it in place until the glue set up. I used Gorilla Glue hot glue sticks, and they seem to work pretty well for this, but you could also use E6000 or a stronger adhesive for a more permanent hold. Once the mop was secured in place, I went around and untwisted all the strands of cotton. Here is how the ghost looked once it was put together. Next, I used one of these small tinsel witch hats from Dollar Tree. I removed all of the tinsel from the hat and used some scissors to cut off all the plastic tabs that were used to secure the tinsel in place. I then used some of this black acrylic yarn from Walmart to wrap the entire brim of the hat using hot glue as needed to secure it in place. Next, I used some of this dark purple acrylic yarn from Walmart and wrapped it around the bottom part of the hat to create about a 1-inch band around the bottom of the hat using hot glue as needed to secure it in place. Once I had the hat band in place, I used more of this black acrylic yarn to wrap the remainder of the hat, again using hot glue as needed. I used some of this Yarn Bee yarn in the color Honey to wrap the buckle for the hat using hot glue to attach it to the buckle. After I had everything wrapped with the yarn, I used small dabs of hot glue on the edges of the buckle and attached it to the hat in the center of the purple band. I used some of this black felt from Hobby Lobby to create the eyes for the ghost. I liked the shape of the handle of the scissors, so I used a marker to trace the inside of the handle onto the felt and cut it out. I then used some hot glue to attach the felt eyes to the ghost. To finish up this project, I used some of these warm white LED string lights from Dollar Tree and placed them inside the vase, then placed the hat on top to cover up the plastic piece of mop head, and that's it for this one. I just love this ghost. Not only is it adorable, but it makes a great little light to give the room a nice cozy feeling at night. Moving on to DIY number 5, inspired by DIY Kristen. For this project, I used 3 of these large plastic rats from Dollar Tree and used a pair of scissors to remove their tails. I also used one of these 8-inch plastic cauldrons from Amazon and used scissors to cut off the handle, keeping the small peg-like pieces from inside the cauldron. I then placed some hot glue inside the handle hole and replaced the peg, this time letting the pointed end face outwards to fill up the hole. I also repeated this step on the other side to fill in the other handle hole. Next, I arranged the 3 rats so that they would hold the cauldron up and so that it would be level, and placed hot glue on the back of the rats where they came into contact with the bottom of the cauldron and placed it on top, holding it in place long enough for the glue to set up. Once the glue was set up, I flipped the cauldron upside down and added just a dab of glue to the tips of each of the rat tails to secure them together for a bit more added security. I took it outside and gave it a couple coats of Rust-Oleum spray paint in the color Flat Black. I used one of these 8-inch bamboo rings from Amazon and painted it with a coat of Rust-Oleum spray paint in the color Flat Black. I also used some of these clear plastic Christmas ornaments that I picked up on sale at Hobby Lobby and removed all of the silver tops so that I was left with just the plastic globe. Once the paint was completely dry, I placed the bamboo ring on top of the cauldron and started attaching the ornaments using hot glue to create bubbles. Now I wanted to be able to remove the bubbles from the cauldron since I decided to use a mister and needed to be able to add and remove water, so that's why I opted to use the bamboo ring. If you don't want to remove the bubbles, you can skip the ring altogether and attach the ornaments directly to the cauldron. I continued adding the ornaments to the top of the cauldron until I was happy with the way it looked, using hot glue to secure them in place. Here is how the bubble topper turned out. I used folk art brushed metal paint in the color sterling silver and painted both handles on the cauldron with 2 good coats, and then heavily dry brushed the sides of the cauldrons and the rats to age it a bit. Next, I used a 3/8 inch drill bit to drill a hole in the back of the cauldron just below the lip. I then used one of these mist makers from Amazon and placed the cord attached to the mister through the hole in the back of the cauldron, and then pushed the rubber stopper into the hole to seal it from leaking. Once I had the mister in place inside the cauldron, I attached the cord with the plug to the mister cord and filled the bottom of the cauldron with enough water to completely cover the mister, then placed the bubbles on top of the cauldron, and this one is finished. I'm going to be completely honest with this one. I actually prefer it without the bubbles the best because you can see the mist better, although the colors coming through the clear ornaments are beautiful as well. You'll have to let me know in the comments which look you like the best. And last but not least, DIY number 6, inspired by Dark Star Home. For this project, I used 3 of these metal candlesticks from Dollar Tree, 1 in each of the 3 sizes. I also used 2 of these metal bat tree toppers, a witch tree topper, and a crow tree topper, all from Dollar Tree as well. I began by using some wire cutters to remove the parts of the tree toppers that actually go onto the top of a tree. I used Gorilla Super Glue to attach the metal figures to the candlesticks. For the tallest candlestick, I used 2 of the metal bats and applied a small dab of super glue to the back of the bats where they come into contact with the candlestick, then placed them on the candlestick, holding them for about 10 seconds until the glue dried enough to hold them in place. I then repeated this step to attach the crow to the middle-sized candlestick. And finally, I repeated this step to attach the witch to the shortest candlestick. I do want to mention that it takes about 24 hours for this super glue to fully cure, so I let them set overnight before adding the candles, and this one is finished. I am in love with these super simple candlesticks, and I think they're going to be another permanent addition to my makeup room. And that's it for today's TikTok-inspired Halloween decor DIYs. I hope you enjoyed them and that they inspired you to get out some supplies and to get crafting. Let me know in the comments below which one of these DIYs was your favorite. I think mine is a toss-up between the skeleton hand and the light-up ghost. Please don't forget to go check out the playlist host and the playlist, along with all of the TikTok creators that inspired all of today's projects, for even more amazing content. All of the links and tags will be in the description box below. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help me out here on YouTube, and if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, what are you waiting for? Click that button and stick around for a little while. I have tons of fun DIY inspiration on the way. I'll see y'all next time.